This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane. Welcome in, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 111. On today's episode, we've got some injury updates, as well as some dudes getting suspended for wellness violations with WWE, as well as WWE releasing quite a few guys. Of course, we will review AEW, NXT. We're going to take a look at the TLC pay-per-view preview. We're going to take a look at Raw. We're going to take a look at SmackDown. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. I want to thank you guys for joining us this week. Last week, we did take a little bit of a break as I was in the process of moving back to Michigan, so sorry for missing a show with you guys last week, but doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only. He is the Doc, John McEnroe. What's up, cuz?
Looking forward to it. And for those that have been listening and paying attention week in, week out, you are now back in studio. So it makes for a much more enjoyable wrestling podcast, a reset here. I'm looking forward to many, many more, especially now. This year, 2019, has been a watershed year for professional wrestling and where the shows are going. You can see now NXT and AEW are going back and forth, trading wins in the ratings, and you realize competition has brought out the best in both companies. But in my mind, AEW still is putting on a little bit better product based on the fact that they're traveling. They just seem a little bit bigger than NXT. But what NXT is doing is they're knocking, they're chipping away. And each and every show that's being put on now by WWE is in response to some great competition, not only from AEW, but from a lot of other promotions. So it's all great right now in the world of wrestling. For those fans that are paying attention, there's so much to dig into. It's great. I can't wait to talk to you on this podcast.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be back. I'm sorry about last week. I really do apologize for that. I will say this much. It is definitely a different dynamic when you and I are in the studio as opposed to me being 300 miles away and doing it over the phone. If you had a chance to listen to the Doc and Jock show where we talk sports, I think it's a much more enjoyable program to listen to. I think the quality is better. I think you and me in the studio, we just vibe at a completely different level when we're together than when we're separated. But I do want to jump into this wrestling podcast. And SmackDown took place last Friday. As it kind of unfolded, you seen the setup for TLC, and I think we're both in agreement that it feels almost rushed. We were talking a little bit pre-show that it feels like WWE has maybe too many pay-per-views, and you don't get enough time to really get a good, serious build to really get you invested, which has me asking you this. How intrigued are you by The Fiend versus The Miz? And it appears that they will be fighting to save Daniel Bryan.
I thought it was great. The crowd really liked it. In a show that a lot of times, sometimes they don't get into certain segments. They sometimes will start to cheer for CM Punk or just kind of not be into anything. They were into The Miz getting a push, and I think it's the right time. The Miz is somebody that's a company guy, been around a long time, and look, at the end of the day, I don't think that The Miz is going to get over in this one, but I think seeing new people rise up to take on The Fiend, all good.
Yeah, I really like The Miz, and I find The Miz to be extremely enjoyable, especially when you involve his family. When he is a serious contender for something. When I say serious, I don't mean serious like he's going to win it. I mean serious as far as his mindset goes. When he changes from the happy-go-lucky, I'm awesome, The Miz, to I'm going to F you up, I'm The Miz, it's a different dynamic. You've seen that dynamic with him and Daniel Bryan when they were doing the Talking Smack segments. And you really seen Miz elevate himself in those segments. He really broke out and really helped separate himself as one of the top-tier guys in WWE. And I think him going against The Fiend is going to be great. I think it's going to be really, really good. But I want more of it. I want a more serious build. I don't want this just kind of rushed and put together and then packaged and served to me in roughly 2 weeks, and then I turn around and Sunday I get the pay-per-view. I don't need the payoff that quick. I want to really get invested, and I really want to sit back and really enjoy this. And I feel like it's just kind of getting pushed to the forefront a little bit too quickly. But however, you're right. More guys rising up to challenge The Fiend, it does two things, right? It gives a lot of different guys a little bit of a spotlight, but it also helps increase the legend of The Fiend. The more bodies he amasses in his belt, the more legendary he becomes, and I think that's fantastic. Let's switch gears a little bit here. The Revival ended up defeating Ali, Shorty G, Heavy Machinery, and Lucha House Party to become the new number one contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Should they be the number one contenders? These are guys who have switched from Raw, where they had the Raw belts. If you believe everything, they have one foot out the door, and they're ready to sign with AEW as soon as their contracts expire. WWE has offered them a boatload of money at numerous times, and they have rebuffed them every single time. WWE has now made them the number one contenders, and I think if you're a smart wrestling fan, you don't necessarily buy into this. And I think you might be missing an opportunity here to really shine a spotlight on a couple of other guys. Not necessarily Lucha House Party, but a guy like Ali, who I think we both agree is fantastic. Shorty G, I think, is fantastic. And I think Heavy Machinery, though comical, I think they're really, really good. By making the Revival the number one contenders, I think we both agree the Revival are very good in the ring. I think you miss an opportunity to shine a spotlight on possibly 4 other guys by putting it back on these 2 guys.
Exactly. And with the Revival, great wrestlers, great tag team, but they're missing the it factor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're great basically for a house show.
Yep.
You need a tag team, hey, put them in. They'll draw some heat. But
they're good workers.
Good workers, but they're not it. You know, kind of like, unfortunately, Sheamus and Cesaro. Guys that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the company just... You know, those 2 guys, the company won't get behind. The Revival is getting push after push because I think it kind of harkens back to maybe upper management, old school tag team. Mm-hmm. But in terms of a viewer, it just kind of, they're just there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't have really a catchphrase. They don't really have anything that's marketable other than, hey, solid guys that, you know, you could boo once in a while.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with you 100%. Speaking of solid, and I'm going to use the word solid loosely here. I feel like this Roman Reigns Baron Corbin feud is solid. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't have that it factor. It doesn't speak to me. It doesn't make me want to tune in. Baron Corbin dumping dog food on Roman Reigns. I'm kind of good with it. I don't need to see that. It just
missing something, right?
Yeah. It doesn't have that pizzazz. It doesn't have. Like sometimes in feuds, you'll have that
moment.
Yes, that spark. Like this happened, and you're like, okay, cool, let's build. On. Yeah, this doesn't have it. It's not just me, right? You see this, and you feel the same way.
100%. They've been doing around on house shows and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's just not a feud that you really can really sink your teeth into and really draw emotion upon. Mm-hmm. Kind of like one of those feuds where, okay, let's see the match, Roman Reigns gets over, and we move on.
Yeah, it's just lacking. And that leads us to the preview for tonight's SmackDown, where we're going to continue to build towards TLC, which is going to take place on Sunday. We're going to have Bray Wyatt versus The Miz, which I think we're both really interested in, and I think could be fantastic. We're going to get a little bit of Bayley versus Lacey Evans. It looks like that match will take place on this TLC card coming up on Sunday. And then more Roman Reigns, more Baron Corbin, which really to me is wah, 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 wah. It just doesn't do it for me. Now, Raw, on the other hand, you have very strong opinions on Raw this week. You thought Raw was fantastic. You really enjoyed it. Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins really were the show this week.
Yes.
And I think this build leads to a very poignant question. Does this have the ability to be the top feud as we head into the new year?
Now, it's a feud that we've seen before, and they've obviously waged battle against each other. But
if you watched any of old ROH, you've seen this feud before.
And actually, this time around, the roles have reversed. Owens is the face, and Rollins now is a new heel, a fresh heel. So for me, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, I think it has the capability. These two guys are probably one of the reasons why Raw has been a little bit more enjoyable than SmackDown. I think another reason why Raw has kind of elevated itself is they kind of thread storylines throughout the show that keeps you interested. Okay, what's going on with the women? They kind of peek in and you kind of see an evolvement of a story. And I think that's what's really good for wrestling is tell a story, let it evolve and play out, and have some interesting storylines. And I think the younger, fresher talent is on Monday Night Raw. Humberto Carrillo is just unbelievable.
He's fantastic.
And the match that he had with Andrade was, I guess, the best way to put it was refreshing.
Yeah, it really was. I thought it was a fantastic match.
Solid.
Both of these guys can move in the ring, and Humberto is a fresh face. It's nice to see a guy like this get a spotlight. Again, just like you, I think it was fantastic. I thought this was an outstanding match, and I think something that has possibly the ability to be an outstanding storyline is Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. This has been I don't want to say it's been a slow build because it really hasn't been slow, but it's been pretty methodical. You have kind of seen these two interjecting with each other, interacting with each other, and it looks like it's going to all come to a head with this upcoming pay-per-view on Sunday. Are you interested in Randy Orton versus AJ Styles? Because I think this could be fantastic. This might steal the show at TLC.
Remember, we had a feature match with these two, I think, at WrestleMania, and it was a nice match. I think one in which you had a nice build, a nice quality matchup there. So now it's a continuation, and I think that these two guys, whenever you put them in the ring, I think that they can create magic because they're going to know how to tell a story. They're going to execute, and I'm not exactly sure. Who do you think should go over in this one? Who do you think deserves, I think Randy Orton kind of is at a point now where, aren't you kind of ready now for him to kind of take a step forward into more prominence in terms of hey, title pictures, a little bit more instead of kind of hanging around and just, messing around with the mid cards. Let's put him in something solid and maybe starting off with AJ Styles, have Randy Orton get over, and then maybe make that title push against the heavyweight champ. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. I think
Randy Brock, do you think that's money?
No, I don't want to see Randy Brock.
No.
I don't want to see Brock at all, but
okay.
I think you're right. Randy Brock would be good because you have something there. You have when Brock busted him open hard way in I don't know, that wasn't at WrestleMania. I think that might have been at the Royal Rumble.
Oh, Rumble, okay.
Where he elbowed him in the head and busted him open.
SummerSlam, I think it was a SummerSlam.
It might have been SummerSlam.
Yeah.
It was back when Chris Jericho was in WWE, so this was a little bit ago. So you've got something there. But I think you're right. It is time for Randy Orton to go over. I love AJ Styles. I think AJ Styles is fantastic in the ring. I think he's really good on the mic. I think AJ Styles is a great competitor. But I think now is the time for Randy Orton to get a little bit of a push. And you know what? As we kind of talk our way out of it, I think Randy Brock could be really good because again, you have that built-in storyline, which is something that you can harken back to. And if you are Paul Heyman, who is running creative right now for Monday Night Raw, you have this in the bag. And he's fantastic at building off of stuff that's already there. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It would only make all the sense in the world to do it. And I think it could be really, really good. So yes, absolutely. I wouldn't mind seeing Randy Brock. The only problem is I need Randy to go over. I don't need him to lose to Brock. I think Brock's matches are absolute trash. I don't like Brock Lesnar as a competitor necessarily. I know he's a draw, but that's because they book him correctly, right? They book him sparingly. Whenever he shows up, it's a big deal because you never know when the next time you're going to see him. It's like a lunar eclipse. You never know when the next time you're going to see one of those is. So I wouldn't mind seeing Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar. I just need Randy Orton to go over in the match. Let's kind of give our predictions here for the TLC pay-per-view. We've got Bray Wyatt, who is the SmackDown champion, taking on The Miz. Now, this is a non-title match. It would be interesting to see Bray Wyatt come out as Bray Wyatt and not necessarily The Fiend. I think that would be interesting, and I think you could then build and you could have more story to tell here. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you will probably get The Fiend. But all that being said, Bray Wyatt versus The Miz, I'm going to go Bray Wyatt in this match.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, when you change the belt, and I think you can find that belt, you can find online, I think at WWE.com, a custom-made Universal title, the one's very similar to Bray Wyatt for $7,000. That's,
really?
Yeah, that's how great. It's custom made from a really great designer and things like that. So yeah, they're really pushing it. So with that said, when you change a belt and you make it really cool like that, no, it's going to be The Fiend all the way. There's no chance. Maybe if you're going to do something interesting and creative, make a swerve. But I think that The Fiend is going to win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. We've got the Women's Tag Team Championship between the Kabuki Warriors, who are the champions, versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, which is a unlikely pairing as you might ever find. This is an actual TLC match, so tables, ladders, and chairs. Who you have winning this one?
Give me the champs, Kabuki Warriors. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker. I really do like the fact that you're starting to see some strong physicality from the women. I mean, Becky Lynch going through a table. You know, who would have thought that? But at the same time, the one thing that I think that is an interesting dynamic to look at is how they're trying to portray Becky Lynch. Is she still now someone still the badass, or is she someone that is going to maybe start to fall by the wayside and let some other women elevate? Because it's going to be really interesting. Do you put a title back on Becky Lynch, or do you say, you know what, let her just continue to feud and see? I kind of in 2020 want to see what they do with Becky Lynch, because it seems like the latter half of 2019 was like a transition. Mm-hmm. The steam has kind of faded a little bit. She's still hot, she's still over, but I feel like they just failed to miss.
Who do you put that on? Do you put that on WWE and their creative, or do you put that on Becky Lynch?
I think both. A combination in that at the same time, you know, the storytelling, there's not really been someone that matches up with her that you just go, all right, other than what you saw Shayna Baszler.
Her spotlight, Becky Lynch's spotlight grew so big and so fast, and she did such a fantastic job capitalizing and marketing for herself that she really outshined everybody else. And nobody else could really hold a candle to her, not even Ronda Rousey. So when you are basically heads and tails above everybody else in your division, it doesn't really leave you any place to kind of grow or to go. And I think your character just kind of gets stale after a while. And I think that's what's happened with Becky Lynch. And again, no fault of her own, not necessarily any fault of WWE here. It just, I think it's one of those things where it's part of the circumstance. All that being said, I think this might be a way to reinvigorate her character, maybe reinvigorate Charlotte's character, and you put the belts on them. I've got Becky Lynch and Charlotte winning this match. Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. This is another tables, ladders, and chairs match. Who do you think wins this one?
Roman, Baron Corbin, TLC. This one could be wild. Back and forth, this feud has gone. We talked about it earlier in terms of our interest level. Roman's there. I think this character now that Baron Corbin's got kind of needs a little bit of momentum. So for me, I just see the heel winning this one because of the fact that Baron's right there. I think if we're going to talk about stock watches, Baron's been hot and he's been delivering. And look, whether you like him or not, his work in the ring is good. Like
it's gotten so much better, right?
Yes, he's a heel that you kind of want to see get his ass kicked. So he's doing the job. But in terms of Roman Reigns, it'll be interesting. Also, he's kind of now fallen into that Becky Lynch role where he's there and you're going to put him in feuds, but he kind of needs something hot in 2020. Right now, he's kind of fallen off a little bit after, you know, his return from an illness. So give me Baron Corbin this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Baron Corbin as well. To me, it makes more logical sense for him to win. I think you can do a little bit more with him, and I think a loss to Roman Reigns doesn't necessarily hurt his character. I think it gives you an opportunity to maybe build upon his character and allow you a little bit of a different story path to go with him and to really help his character evolve and grow a little bit. So I'm going to go Baron Corbin in this one. Rusev versus Bobby Lashley. This is a tables match. I'm going to go Rusev in this one. I think Bobby Lashley needs his comeuppance, and I think Rusev's going to give it to him in this one.
Man, That's a tough one, too. You say Rusev, huh?
Yes.
I find it tough because of the fact that Rusev has, taken the losses quite a bit, in some of the vignettes and stuff like that. I kind of want to see Bobby Lashley go over because you got this big monster. What are you going to do with him? Rusev is a guy that just makes anything over. But at the same time, I could also see Rusev. I'm torn in this one. It's probably the toughest matchup. It's going to be a good one, but give me Rusev. I think at the same time, to stick with what you're saying, Rusev, I think outside of maybe, let's say, The Miz and Rusev are two guys, and then, trailing behind them is Sheamus and Cesaro. Those four guys kind of need some things happening for them. So give me Rusev. I think 2020, if it doesn't work out for him, if he continues to kind of meddle in the mid-card, I don't understand why he signed a new deal. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't understand why you would sign your name because bigger and better things could be out there. Sometimes the money maybe just, and maybe he's been assured some things that maybe are going to come along the way for him, some title reigns, some bigger stuff. Because I'd like to see Rusev, Kevin Owens, Rusev, and Seth Rollins.
Fantastic.
It'd be awesome to kind of put the spotlight on him. It feels like that character Rusev is someone that the fans kind of want to push and get over. So maybe in this one, if the fans can get a hold of it and really stay tuned, and it's a hot match, if it's placed right in the card, give me Rusev.
Looking at the way this card is currently situated, this might be your pre-show opener. Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy. Now, this, I think, could be a fantastic match. I think both these guys have the ability, the charisma, the in-ring work rate. I think both these guys are fantastic. I think Buddy Murphy wins this. I want Buddy Murphy to win this. I think Buddy Murphy is a budding star in WWE, much like Ali. Again, a budding star who kind of missed his spot when he got hurt. But Buddy Murphy, I think, is a guy that if WWE was to put more eggs in his basket, would really, really flourish.
I would say the exact same thing, but on a different wrestler. Aleister Black is somebody that has charisma, that has it. When his entrance hits, you're like, wow, that music plays. It's so unique, coming out from, under the entrance there, and it comes out, and I think that he's so unique that you got to, for me, give me Aleister Black to win it. I think he's also due for a big 2020. I think he's also being underutilized. It's unique, and I think WWE in 2020, if they can correct one thing with their whole product, is the NXT guys, whether it be tag teams or anyone that comes up, push them a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't just bring them up, and then basically what they've done is, their debut is basically their graduation, and then they just fall off. It's like, oh, he debuted, and then the rest goes to shit. You get maybe one good feud, and then the rest, nothing sustains. Then you get released.
It's a problem with WWE because they've got so many good competitors, and they've got so many talented guys, yet they sandwich all these stories together, right? And they don't have a ton of them, but you'll bring a guy up, debuts, and then next thing you know, he falls to the back of the pecking order. And it's because they utilize the same guys repetitively. This is the one thing that I think AEW gets right. You don't necessarily have the same guys on TV every single week. You get different guys doing different things. You could have the same guy on television, but doesn't necessarily mean he's going to wrestle. He could just be in a vignette, could just be at the announcer's table doing some announcing. You get guys, but they're utilized differently. And I think it, one, helps save the body. Two, I think it allows for more people to get more story time. And the more people you have getting story time, the more interesting it is for us as the viewer. Now, we've got two possible matches. Now, rumor and speculation are these will make the card. As of right now, when we're recording, they are not on the card, so we're going to include them just in case. SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley, who is the champion, will take on Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans has done an about face. She is now a face, while Bayley is a heel. I don't think it's really worked out the way you would hope for with Lacey Evans. It seems a little herky-jerky. She seems a little bit sloppy in this role. I don't really enjoy it. I'm going to go Bayley. I think Bayley is a character who has found something that is working. I think it has helped elevate her a little bit. I think it has helped break her out of this mold in this typecast that she was in. I think she looks much, much better as this heel doing what she wants to do.
Spot on. Couldn't have said it better myself. Give me Bayley. But if it doesn't work out in our favor and you and I are both wrong, Lacey Evans is someone too that you can use in a manner in which you could put her to the moon. I think she's got some talent, but the problem is she's green a little bit in the ring. She's got to work on she has the persona. And it's so fascinating when someone has the ability to speak on the mic and has the ability to draw emotion, but then in the ring kind of is a little bit sloppy.
Falls flat, right?
Yeah, so you got to just do a little bit better in terms of getting her ready to go in the ring. But Lacey Evans, I like what she does. I like what she brings to the table. She's got a presence.
What do you like more? Do you like them being able to move and work in the ring, but not necessarily be able to cut a promo, or be able to cut a great promo, elicit that emotion, but be a little bit sloppy in the ring?
I want them to be better in the ring, but I also want them to have something outside of the ring, whether it be maybe a little catchphrase, a nice entrance, a little something. You just can't be the Revival where you're just great in the ring and then nothing else really. That just, I mean, the Revival is known for having their ass shaved and shit like that in front of each other.
That's pretty much it.
You know what I mean? It's like, we walked in on the Revival shaving each other. It's like, you got to do a little bit more than that.
It's weird. It makes you totally appreciate guys like The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, because these are five tool players who have everything, and they're really, really good at it. Guys who have pretty much everything. Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. Again, not confirmed when we're recording this, but we both anticipate this will make the card. I think we're both in agreement here. We think Randy Orton wins this.
No doubt.
Okay.
The guy that deserves to go over is Randy Orton. I think that AJ Styles right now with the OC doing great work. I think that the work that they've done has warranted, Carl Anderson and Gallows to earn that contract extension. But I think that in this matchup right now, Randy Orton deserves to go over.
And just a reminder, in predictions, we started over. The Doc has a 1-0 lead over the Jock. So I've got some work to do. I've got some making up to do here.
And as a recap, I think we just differ on two, where I got Aleister Black, and I got the other one is...
You have Aleister Black, and you have the Kabuki Warriors.
Exactly.
I have Becky Lynch and Charlotte winning the Women's Tag Team Championship match, and I've got Buddy Murphy. Otherwise, we are in lockstep. In just a quick review, we both have Bray Wyatt beating The Miz in a non-title match. Again, you've got the Kabuki Warriors. I've got Becky Lynch and Charlotte as they battle for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin. We both have Corbin winning in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. We both have Rusev beating Bobby Lashley in a tables match. You've got Aleister Black. I've got Buddy Murphy. And what we're assuming will be the pre-show match. And then in possible matches, we both have Bayley beating Lacey Evans to retain her SmackDown Women's Championship. And we both have Randy Orton going over on AJ Styles. Now, NXT. NXT was interesting. Finn Balor ends up defeating Keith Lee and Tommaso Ciampa by pinfall the other night to become the new #1 contender. This leads to a monster question. Is he the right choice? Because would you rather watch Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole? Or would you rather watch Keith Lee versus Adam Cole? Or would you rather see what is going to happen with Finn Balor taking on Adam Cole? I don't necessarily think there is a wrong answer, but I think by Finn Balor winning this match, what it does is it postpones 2 matches that I think everybody wants to see to give us a match that we kind of want to see.
It's tough too, right?
Finn Balor's great. Finn Balor's incredible. And him and Adam Cole, they do have some chemistry. But I think everybody wants to see Keith Lee, Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I stand. Finn Balor, look, he's there. I do think that he's going to be pushed, obviously, and I think that his gimmick is great. I love the Prince Devlin references every time they do it on NXT. It's harkens back to the time when he was in Japan. It's really cool. But yeah, I think Keith Lee now is the guy, the new hot guy. When he made his debut, you were like, damn, this guy can do some things. And so I think that's why people are gravitating toward him. So yeah, for me, I vote Keith Lee.
Well, one of the best spots on NXT the other night was Keith Lee. I believe he grabbed Finn Balor, and he threw Finn Balor into Tommaso Ciampa, like hit Tommaso Ciampa in the chest with a grown-ass man. It was fantastic. Keith Lee is a monster. He is fantastic to watch. He's a big dude who can move in the ring, and he can fly like he's a cruiserweight. And then Tommaso Ciampa looks like a dude who carries around a wrench, is smoking a cigarette, and when he goes to put it out, he puts it out on his forearm because he's that much of a badass. It's just like these guys are larger than life, and they have it. They have that charismatic angle that makes you just gravitate towards them. Finn Balor's outstanding, but I think those guys are just a notch above him right now. AEW is fantastic. I think when we go for the verdict here coming up next, I think we're going to have some trouble because AEW was outstanding. You really enjoyed Raw, so I think there might be a little bit of back and forth here, but I thought AEW was great. We opened up with Jon Moxley taking on a jobber. Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle come to the ring after Moxley beats the jobber in roughly 10 seconds. Y2J then talks about the history between him and Moxley from their days in WWE, which I think is fantastic. Like smart wrestling fans get this. They know what's going on. They've been invested in both of these guys. They're not blind. They're not dumb. So why not pull on that history? And AEW does it. They don't care. It's fantastic. It's not like WWE where what you did before doesn't count now. No. What you did before matters even more because we can draw on that. We can draw on that emotion. So Jericho even mentions Mitch the Plant. And I don't remember if you remember Mitch the Plant. Mitch the Plant was fantastic. Mentions Mitch the Plant, which got me to pop. Jericho then offers Moxley a chance to join the Inner Circle. He gave Moxley a t-shirt and says he doesn't need to make up his mind right now. He will give him until after the holidays to decide. How do you see this playing out?
Ooh. No chance in hell Moxley joins the Inner Circle. Okay, I think they could tease it where you actually really, really believe it because that's the whole part of great storytelling. But I think this is what we're all going to get excited for. Moxley could be the guy that takes the belt off of Jericho because you bring in this big free agent, you bring in this crazy psychopath. Why not put a belt on him? But maybe the first go around Chris Jericho wins. Maybe a situation in which some more storytelling enhances this feud. But if there's somebody that's going to take the belt off of Chris Jericho, it should be Moxley. So there's no chance he's in the Inner Circle. But if you want to piss everybody off, and you want to make a super group, maybe you start kicking out a Sammy Guevara. You start kicking out some people.
Has he fallen flat to you? Like I was watching his match.
He doesn't seem like a fit.
No, I was watching his match the other day.
In a group. No,
I didn't get it.
Kick out Sammy Guevara, kick out the Boricuas, and just have the three guys. That's all you need is Hagar, Jericho, and Moxley. Oh my God! Yeah. But it's not going to happen. It's fantasy talk.
It is fantasy talk. I think you're right though. I like where you're headed. I think they could tease him joining, but I don't think Moxley actually joins the Inner Circle. I think if there is going to be a guy who takes that belt off Jericho, it could be Jon Moxley, and I think that would be fantastic. I think it'd be really, really interesting. Somebody who couldn't take the belt off of Chris Jericho was Cody Rhodes. Darby Allin has seemed to have aligned himself with Cody Rhodes as they brace for war against MJF and Wardlow. What do you make of this? Do you like Darby Allin coming to the side of Chris Jericho, or do you like Darby Allin coming to the side of Cody Rhodes?
I do. I definitely think Darby Allin could use the rub from Cody, and I think that it's promising because, look, when you have a heel faction out there, you're going to need, some baby faces to kind of take them on. And so I think Darby Allin is a great guy to handpick in terms of aligning himself with Cody and kind of elevating himself a little bit. His matches that he's had in prominent spots have been pretty good. The problem is with a guy like Darby Allin, a little undersized.
He's a little undersized.
A little undersized, but he can do all the stuff. But unfortunately, when he's in there with Cody, you can kind of tell the difference. Mm-hmm. So that's unfortunate.
I think Darby Allin is one of those guys who could be a huge star. Much like Orange Cassidy, much like a lot of these younger, talented wrestlers in AEW, I think he's got a huge spotlight, and I think he's a good enough wrestler. I think he's solid enough to where he could become a monster star. And I think aligning himself with Cody Rhodes in this feud against MJF and Wardlow, I think it could be fantastic. I think this could be really, really good. We both agree MJF is outstanding. We both really like what MJF brings to the ring and what he brings when he's on the mic. Cody Rhodes has put on some of the best matches in AEW since the beginning of 2019. He has carried this company on his back. Darby Allin, like you said, in big spots, has had outstanding matches. The problem is he hasn't won any of these matches. That's the issue right now. I think this could be really, really good. I think it's interesting. It will be fun to see how this kind of plays out. We had a crazy, crazy main event between the Young Bucks and the Proud and Powerful, or the Boricuas, as you said. Are these the two best tag teams in AEW right now?
Ooh,
tag team wrestling is huge in AEW. They give it the time, they give it the spotlight. These two teams always are doing crazy things.
See, for me, I rank them 2 and 3. Okay. Number 1 for me is the Lucha Brothers, because what they do in that ring, I'm like, even though it's a spot fest, even though sometimes they don't do the best job of selling, nobody in professional wrestling is really overselling in terms of old school, like, Becky Lynch going through a table and she's already popping up and she should be injured. I think when Seth Rollins did the curb stomp, that potentially could have been played up too. Kevin Owens should be out for forever. But you look at it and you say, the Lucha Brothers, their package, what they bring to the table, I rank them 1 in terms of power rankings, and then the Young Bucks, and then the Boricuas 3 in AEW. But man, when those two teams get in the ring, get your popcorn ready and enjoy the show.
So I will say that they are 2 and 4 for me. The Lucha Brothers are fantastic. Just the look, what they do in the ring, everything that they bring is incredible. Then I would go Young Bucks, and then I'd go SCU as my number 3. The current AEW Tag Team Champions. I really like SCU. I think SCU is fantastic. I think Scorpio Sky is amazing. I think he has a huge future. And then for me, it would probably be Proud and the Powerful. Honestly, I don't really get up for them. I don't necessarily like their new gimmick. I don't like them necessarily being in the inner circle. I like when they were basically Vatos Locos Homes, and they were kind of like screw the authority, and they just kind of did what they did, and they had their like Southern Cal gangster mentality. I love that side of them. I just this Proud and the Powerful, all right, whatever. It just doesn't necessarily work for me. Which show do you want to give the point to this week? Currently, AEW has 6.5. They have essentially taken a point, or at least a half a point, every single week since AEW has been on the air. While NXT has a 0, SmackDown has a 0, and we gave Raw the other half of a point.
It's tough. I thought NXT did a solid job setting up their storylines. But again, for me, AEW, just top to bottom, the intrigue, the question now that you have regarding Moxley and Jericho. The fact is that Chris Jericho, when he's there, part of a show, it's unbelievable. They've set up now a top heel faction. You got great wrestling. Now, the fascinating part about AEW is, do they take advantage of some opportunities that are going to potentially come their way with some people that you're going to tell me have been released or have asked for their release and been granted? So I think there'll be some solid additions to that mid-card, and it's exciting. I think AEW right now is on the verge of really exploding in 2020 if they can just get a couple more signature moments. They've done well, but what's lacking is Raw and SmackDown, they create moments. Like that moment when you got the AOP and you got Kevin Owens and he's going back and forth and da-da-da, and then you pan and, there's this figure in a van and you turn and it's Seth Rollins. That's a moment. That was cool. And you have these constant, like, iconic moments that periodically pop up on Raw and SmackDown that you go and you say, wow, this is an amazing moment. AEW, after the pay-per-views, they're creating them. But on the show yet, you think Dynamite has had a signature moment just where you go, wow, too many of them? I think they got to build on it. They got to have a couple more signature moments going into 2020, and I think some additions would do that. And I think that would round out the show a little bit more, because kind of it's getting a little bit, driven by the storylines that we already know about.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with you 110%. I think AEW gets
freshness.
We
need some
week.
Fresh. Yes.
Yes. I think you're spot on here. Do you want to know who these potential talents might be that might be joining AEW?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. I want to know. I can't wait.
On Sunday, WWE released Luke Harper, who was a monster in the backstage. Like he was an all-time favorite of just about everybody backstage. On top of that, he is really, really good in the ring. His character kind of limited what he could do. Also, Sin Cara and the Ascension, Victor and Connor, have all been underutilized and have requested their release at some point in the past 6 months and have now been granted that release. Don't be surprised if Mike Kanellis, who when he was in ROH was fantastic, don't be surprised if he's next. WWE announced Tuesday that it has suspended Robert Roode and Primo Colon for 30 days each for their first violation of the company's wellness policy. Don't do steroids, kids. It's not good for you. This Sunday on the Broken Skulls podcast with Steve Austin, he will be interviewing Bill Goldberg. Now, this will take place after the TLC pay-per-view. Batista and the NWO, and by the NWO, I mean Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman, will be headlining the WWE Hall of Fame this year. So NWO for life.
Oh, it was good news, man. You know I was excited to see that.
I was pumped too. Like that's such a signature moment.
The music. Oh my God. I'm going to mark out.
Moment, dude.
We're going to mark out when they play that music. I think we're all just going to be like putting up our hands too sweet and just reliving it, dude. There's only really a handful of old wrestling YouTube stuff I look, but one was when NWO debuted on the pay-per-view on WWE. That was sweet. And obviously, the WrestleMania that they were featured on was unbelievable. And then WrestleMania 18 with, the turn where you got, this bad guy, Hollywood Hogan against The Rock, and the crowd just flips. And then all the stuff from NWO back in the day was unbelievable.
Bro, Bash at the Beach
was great.
Bash at the Beach was fantastic. Yes. When the crowd just loses their crap and starts throwing bottles and whatever they could find, just throwing trash in the ring trying to hit Hulk Hogan. Oh my God, it was fantastic.
Classic, huh?
It was outstanding. It was such a swerve. Like, you never seen it coming, and then it hit you like a ton of bricks. It was great. John Morrison has signed with WWE again, while it appears that Matt Hardy may be on his way out. In a group of tweets, Hardy has implied that he will leave when his contract expires in April. Now, Braun Strowman was reportedly supposed to enter into a championship feud before an injury caused a change of plans. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, Strowman and Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura were supposed to begin a storyline on last week's episode of SmackDown, but differing reports say Strowman is currently dealing with back spasms or a sore hip, so that has caused a bit of a change in that script. Now, Dave Meltzer is also reporting that Seth Rollins has been dealing with a broken pinky finger. He, however, has been cleared to compete. It'll be interesting to see if we get Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens on TLC. I don't think we will. I think we will continue to build this story, but that would explain why Seth Rollins really hasn't been working in the ring as much as he normally would. And that will do it for this week's Wrestling News and Notes. Check out TLC this Sunday on the WWE Network, or if you got that link, you can watch it for free.
Oh, we're talking about that special magic link that puts you in touch with professional wrestling for free. Sounds good, man. Great podcast. Oh, man. Yeah, it is much better with the original AOP back in the saddle. The assholes of podcasting, baby. I love it. It's a good time, man. It was good actually to take a week off too, because to be honest, and the reason why was I just didn't watch it. I just took a week off and said, you know what, Adam's, doing some things. You know what? Take a week off, refresh. It makes you miss it, because when you're watching 4 or 5 shows a week and then you're reading all about it and then you're into it, I think a little bit of a break was actually really good, because when I watched it with a new set of fresh eyes, I'm like, okay, some of the stories are better. Some of the things are a little bit more interesting. Sometimes you just watch a lot of wrestling. And you and I, in the past 3 years, have watched a lot of wrestling.
Watched a ton of wrestling.
And then now...
Think about it this way, right? So you've got 3 hours of Raw. You've got 2 hours of SmackDown. You've got 2 hours of AEW.
And guess what
now?
If
we watch NXT, that's another 2 hours.
And guess what? Now I'm falling into the wormhole of YouTube with all the podcasts that are out there.
Yes.
Oh my God, satellite radio. And now there's all these guys that are doing these feature interviews. It's like, holy cow, man. It's a great time. And John Moxley's doing these interviews on radio stations. You can see all of them on YouTube. You can see this guy, Chris Van Fleet. He's just all over interviewing wrestler after wrestler after wrestler. And you got Ryback doing a good show. There's a great show on, I think it's called the Collider Network, where they just sit around and talk wrestling. Ryan Satin's program. There's so much content that I'm just like, so it's good to take a week off, but we'll come strong the rest of the year and going into 2020, baby, on the path to the Royal Rumble. Can't wait.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait for Royal Rumble time. TLC, I don't know if I'm really geared up for this. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully they do a good show. If you enjoy professional wrestling and you want to talk during the pay-per-view, definitely go and download the Flick Chat application. Whether it be on Google Play or the Apple Store, download Flick Chat, and it's Detroit Sports' newest headquarters. You can create your own forums, and it's a group chat application where you can talk to the host here on the network. You can talk to other professional wrestling fans that will be watching live during TLC and all the shows that take place there. Putty, Javier, they do a good job. Salget, Adam, we know you're definitely paying attention. And you can also, via the Flick Chat application, download your favorite podcast right there from the Flick platform. So Flick Chat, Detroit Sports' newest headquarters, and then support those who support us. Go check out and follow Dennis Farrell at Dennis77Farrell, and check out his website, WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. See you next week, cuz. See you, cuzzo. This is a good time.